After 6 weeks of travelling south, we finally head to Andorra, but not everything goes to plan. And there's a bit of a whining coming from the gearbox, I think. Early 2022 we sold our business, went full-time travelling.
Come and follow us, see what we get up to.
So we left Carcassonne this morning on our way to Andorra. A couple of years ago, last time we were in Carcassonne, we came this way to a place called La Grasse. Camping area, €8 for a day. We're not going to pay, we're only going to be here for a couple of hours. And it's individual parking bays in amongst olive trees. So we'll have a coffee, we'll show you the bridge, we'll have a mooch around. So here in La Grasse, we drove over this bridge. I remember last time driving over it, it was February last time, the river was in full torrent, and we looked over and saw that bridge. It's one of the reasons we stopped. We spent the next couple of hours just mooching through this lovely old medieval town, beautiful empty streets, lovely place. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to stay for very long. We are in a bit of a rush to get going. We spent way too long in Normandy mooching.
Yes.
And now, all the nice things that we've seen here, I think we're going to come back.
Oh, we're definitely going to come back. Just not on this trip. We've got about 10 days left and we've still got to start heading north again. We spent 4.5 weeks, 4 weeks heading south. So we need to keep heading south to where we want to go, and then we'll have about less than a week to get back up north again. That's all right.
Till next time.
Till next time.
So this castle behind me was ruined in derelict until the mid-1980s, when the council spent many years buying pieces of it up one at a time until they owned it all. And then realising that villages like this were dying, spent a fortune in renovating it to turn into a tourist attraction. We've been walking around for a good hour.
Yeah, at least a good hour.
With an audio guide.
It was done very differently. It was done as a story. So the first bottom 2 floors, I'm trying to think how to describe it. It was a one person telling you a story of their part of their life. Translation wasn't necessarily brilliant, but it was okay. And then it started turning into sort of more information as you walk from room to room, which is really good. It's very little. It's a very clever way of doing it, I think. It doesn't look as though there's very much there, but it fills an hour very easily.
And for what, €5, €6 each?
€6 each.
Value for money.
And the audio guide comes in there, and I think that's one of the things I love about France is audio guides are part of your ticket entrance.
So on our way to Andorra, we've come over the top of the mountains. We're in a place called Col de Chula, I think. Col de Chula. You pronounce it, you probably know better. Where we're parked over the road there in a car park, it says we are 1,431 metres at the top here, and we have found a ski slope. So this is a skiing area, obviously. The mountains look fabulous. I think it's going to annoy me tonight is these cows. They've got the old bells around their necks and they're bashing away. Look at that view, look at those mountains. Don't they look fabulous? I think Andorra is somewhere about 50 kilometres, 30 miles away.
We think in that direction.
And that direction there.
That one, we think.
So one of the weirdest places we've ever been is at the top of the mountain here. You can't see the sky above me, but there are stars. Claire is sat here in the dark filming. You can't hear it, but in front of us is an enormous thunderstorm.
It's not a thunderstorm at the moment, it's a lightning storm.
It's a lightning storm. We can't hear a single noise. It must be miles and miles away.
I looked a few minutes ago and it's over in Carcassonne.
Which is what, about a 4-hour drive away?
Oh, 4 hour in Peggy.
I didn't manage to film anything this morning because I was hanging on for dear life to the steering wheel as we came down the hill. As you saw where we parked up the last couple of nights, opposite, far away, you could see a ski lift. Well, the ski lift is kind of up there really. We have come down the valley zigzagging, doing hair bends. Hair bends? What are they called? Hair bends. Hair bends. The brakes have been stinking. Hairpin bends. The brakes have been stinking. It's been, yeah, hell of a ride. The view here is stunning. We've just been through the town. We thought we'd better get out the other side before the brakes caught on fire. So we've come up the hill a bit, stopped for 5 minutes. Claire's done a bit of geocaching. Ah, look, she's found it already. Yeah, 5-minute rest and we'll head up the hill, only to come back down to get the brakes smelling again, and then Andorra this afternoon. So we've just dragged poor old Peggy up the hill. We're only about 10 miles now from Andorra. A fun fact for you is Andorra has the highest capital in Europe at about 1,400 metres. The air is thin up here. I'll dig out a bag of crisps in a minute and show you how it's blown up. Claire will tell you the capital of Andorra.
Andorra la Vella.
Right, so we will show you. We have just driven up there. It is awesome view.
We started the day driving 5 miles downhill, then we drove 5 miles uphill, and then, sorry, 6 miles uphill, then 6 miles downhill, and then along the valley, which was still at 1,000 metres up, and then we've driven this bit, and what are we now, 1,1800?
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah, metres, not feet, metres, and we've got more to go. Look at these. You can't really see them very well, but they're solid. A bit like it happens when you take a packet of crisps into the aeroplane, but we're not high enough.
That is properly blown out. That is really solid.
That is completely solid. Our water bottles as well, when we opened the lid to them, they went so there is definitely a different pressure up here.
So as you probably know, we got to Andorra. We went through, gotta be honest, completely disappointed. Basically Andorra is one big main road. It's lined with supermarkets and shops, high-rise buildings. We got a little bit stuck in the city, got out of there. Now we've come to this place. We were going to go take the van right up the hill there, but on the way up today we've been working Peggy quite hard, going up and down the hills, and there's a bit of a whining coming from the gearbox, I think. So instead of risking it, we thought we'd stop here the night. We'll probably head back to France tomorrow. Just do the one night here, tick it off our list. There is stunning scenery. We're going to go for a walk now. We're going to have a beer tonight. We are in the car park, as you can see, completely nobody here at all. We'll probably get moved on. You're not allowed to stay very many places in Andorra. Petrol's cheap, or diesel's cheap. It was 160 a litre or 161 a litre. Everything else, there's car parks everywhere. There are so many cars here. I haven't seen so many in weeks, but there's parking restrictions everywhere, and there's nowhere to park until you find a place like this. So we'll stop here. We might whip up in that cable car in a minute. It's about 5 o'clock at night already, so I don't suppose it's going to run much longer. Well, yeah, we'll have a night with Peggy here, like I say, and then we'll head back to France tomorrow. Once we're in France, a little bit easier if we do get problems. Obviously Peugeot garages are 10 to a penny around there, and breakdown recovery service, if we get into that sort of problem, will be a lot easier to sort out than Andorra. Telephone charges in Andorra are £2 a minute, or £2.20 a minute to ring, £1.38p a minute to receive, 75p to send a text message, would you believe. Your data roaming for Europe doesn't work in Andorra. Claire's got it set so if she spends more than a fiver more than she should do, it will shut off. And she was looking at the map. We're in Andorra for 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Not even that. Less than 5 minutes. Looking at a map.
And then a warning came up and said you've overused your data. We've charged you £5 and we've stopped you. Literally was just looking at a map. So really, we don't want to be broken down here. I don't think we will. I think she's just a tired old girl. I think she just needs a day's rest. That's the van, not Claire. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. It's what? It's amazing.
What a difference a person's attitude towards a country is, depending on how they are mentally. Yesterday we came in and it wasn't what we expected it to be. so that kind of shook us a little bit. It's probably a drastic description of it. And then we're worried about Peggy. So by the time we actually got to stop, neither of us particularly liked the country. This morning, touch wood, she's feeling a bit better, and we're not in a city. And my God, this place is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It's just a shame that you can't see enough of it, because the rest of it is one long line of towns with no beginning and no end, with high-rise buildings, so you can't see the beauty of what's the other side.
So we're out the mountains, we're just coming to a little town, I don't know what it's called.
La Massana,
apparently, and all the lampposts have got bicycles on them. There are so many cyclists here. Look, there's another two weirdos that'll be going up the hill later.
Hey, we're cyclists as well.
We're not weirdos.
Okay. What he means is we're not road bikers, we're mountain bikers. We go and have fun. Road bikers always have a very serious and very stern looking face. They never look as though they have fun. Whereas mountain bikers, you see them come off the mountains covered in mud and they've always got big grins on their face. That's what he means.
My God, look at the size of that mountain above us. I won't tell Claire, but there's billions of tons of heavy dark rock there, which will probably, now she won't talk to me for an hour, which, as she is nervous at the moment driving here, she is wittering a lot, so anything to stop her wittering is great. You got to wait for the camera to turn on. Right, witter away for a bit.
I am not nervous, I am just not used to driving in this country, and although it's next door to France, it is very different. The signage is very different, their laws are quite different, their speed limits are different, so I'm just paying attention. They also seem to be really on it for speeding, so I'm just trying to pay attention to everything. And yes, I do witter when I'm hypersensitive. No, I'm not hypersensitive. What's the words I'm looking for?
See what I mean? She's wittering. Complete and utter bullshit. She's just jibber jabber, chip 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 chip. She's talking. Anyway, straight ahead, love.
I know how to drive.
So we've been wondering, oh, we just come out of the town so you can't see it, but there are flags on every single lamppost, all the way from the border pretty much to the main town of Andora La Vella. We were wondering why there were so many flags everywhere. Well, we've just got into the smallest car park on the planet. The barrier smashed onto the top of the roof. I will have to check it in a minute, make sure we didn't do any damage. I don't think so. And find that this huge duty-free booze shop was shut. It's open every day from 9 till 9, apart from today, and today is the what? 7th?
8th of September.
8th of September. Today's National
Celebration Day.
So everything's bloody shut. But we have seen loads of police today, and they are in their finest uniforms. We haven't seen police really yesterday on the way in, but they're in their shiny uniforms, the shiny shoes, the shiny buckles, with shiny white gloves.
Badges,
shiny.
Yeah, white, and some of them are even wearing shiny, sort of silvery ties as well. They're very shiny today.
So it's obviously national holiday today. Everything's shut, so we are on our way back to France. Less than 24 hours in Andorra. We are going to stop in the city or the town. Basically, it's duty-freeville on the border.
I was going to say, that's not a town. That is
a duty-free.
That's a commercial nightmare right on the border.
So we're going to stop there. We're going to have a mooch. We're going to probably have a bit of lunch. Peggy isn't whistling yet this morning. Touch wood. I think maybe we just over pushed her yesterday. We have still got quite a lot of uphill and downhill to go today. As you can see, we're heading up now. I'm a little bit more relieved that we aren't going to break down today in Andorra. Touch wood, touch wood. We're at 2,130 metres up. The air is considerably thinner for an old fella like me running around. We have just driven up through the valley there. It is a fantastic looking country. Just not sure about, well, there's a lot we're not sure about Andorra yet. We've still got quite a lot to do. We've still got to get up over the top. Looking at that, zigzagging all the way to the top. We decided not to use the €12 tunnel this time, as we did it last time on the way in yesterday.
Yeah, it's not cheap, but it's not the end of the world. But yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
We're not sure. We will come back to Andorra. I think when something is so different to what you expect it to be, it kind of just doesn't sit right. And it's not motorhome friendly. There's just nowhere to park. There are motorhome places, but they are so expensive. It's quite prohibitive, but there's nowhere to just pull over to do any shopping. That's the bit I think we're struggling with the most. And everything is so built up until you get to the very edges like this, which is beautiful.
And to be honest, I think we were more worried about Peggy than we were seeing stuff, because there's a loop. I will put a picture up in a minute, right below or in front of me. We were going to go to this little place, Talk I think it was called. It's a little lost village in Spain. You get to it through Andorra, you then drive over to the Spanish border. You can go all the way through the lanes to it, but apparently it's got fantastic food, run by a little old lady who's been there forever. We wanted to do that today, but to be honest, we were more concerned about kind of heading home, making sure we get Peggy home in one piece. I'd rather get her home and get her to our mechanic to look at her over properly than be stuck here.
At the very worst, she's a Peugeot, so let's get to France where there's Peugeot garages. So at the very worst, if we really need to. Better than having to wait for a tow truck here, because I think that might be quite expensive. Especially today, as today's National Day and nothing's happening. Yes.
So we are going to go to the what do we call it? What did I call it just now?
I don't know, that
Duty Freesville.
Yeah.
But seeing as everything's shut, if that's shut, I said to Claire I'd do something, which I probably won't put on video.
No, because nobody needs to see that.
I will do that in the middle of the car park. It might be quite private. Oh, and I've just seen it's 11:30 in the morning and it's 14 degrees here.
It's
14 degrees.
It feels freezing compared to we've just spent the last 4 weeks in over 30 degrees, so it's quite nice having to put a coat on.
Anyway, we'll see you later.
See you in France.
So we've rocked up this morning at the Dune de Pilat.
Well done, Dune de Pilat.
Yeah. The largest.
I think that's how you say it.
The largest sand dunes in Europe.
Yep. On
the west coast of France. We are in this magnificent car park with pine trees everywhere. The huge fires that were in France over the last couple of months are literally that way down the road a couple of miles. And the road that runs alongside the dunes have been shut, so you can only come in from the north end. The smell at the moment is it's magnificent. It's a smell of pine. It's almost like you've had a pine fire, but without the fire, without the smoke. It's just pine.
That might be something to do with the fact there was a pine fire.
No, but you can't smell the fire. There's no smoke. There's just pine. It does smell lovely.
This way.
I'm going to go for a wander. So we only just got to the bottom of the dune really. It's huge. But as you can see, this monster. It's got to be 100 feet plus above me. And 100 feet, 200 feet below, encroaching onto the forest. A lovely green forest, there's pine. You can't smell it up here. But my God, walking on this is hard. You see Claire is falling in, sinking.
I didn't realise how far down it is.
It's mega, isn't it?
Crikey.
It is huge, huge.
Vastness of greenery as well.
So we've climbed all the way to the top of the ridge here. It's a long way up. You really can't tell the scale by the photos, and probably not on the GoPro. But they're the trees, they're the tops of trees, and they're big trees. You can see the brown all the way through where the fires were. This place is enormous. I don't know how much further it goes that way. There are people walking up there, and there's a ridge that people are walking on. It does actually feel, when you get to the edge at the top here, that you're going to fall off the precipice. That's a great word, isn't it? It is so steep. So I've put the camera out straight and the trees are a couple of 100 feet below us. The camera just doesn't show it, I'm afraid. But look at the angle of that. That is awesome. As you can see, it encroaches on the trees and some of the trees are dying. I don't know how far the sand dune will go back. I don't know how long it takes to go back. We've not actually seen anything about it. I guess it must go a few feet a year, taking the forest out with it.
So if Tom pans round onto the bay in front of us, we've got Arcachon just off to the right of us, which is apparently the oyster capital of France. And we think that down here, the sticks sticking out of the water, they must be the oyster beds.
Incredibly shallow here. It looks like you could walk out for miles, but there are also little sailing boats.
There's a lot of boats. Reminds me a little bit of our home harbour, Poole Harbour. Very big, very wide, but incredibly shallow as an average depth, and I think this is quite similar. There's a lot of sandbanks here. Fun enough, quite a bit of sand around here.
So after playing with the great big sandcastle, it was finally time to head back to Blighty, but not before we popped in to surprise an old friend. Oh my god, I've got to listen to this for the next 4 hours!